gonna go ahead and get this started. Is this okay where it is? Awesome, thank you guys. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is gonna be fairly short with lots of time for Q&A. I put these slides together last night for Miranda. So it was a phone a friend kind of a deal. So thank you so much. Some quick show of hands. How many of you have struggled to get any traction on social without getting an account shut down? Yeah, maybe a little bit problematic. Are any of you familiar with Acreage Holdings? So the only reason it's really notable is because former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, is on their board. And Acreage Holdings yesterday morning was told, no, you cannot spend $5 million on an ad during the Super Bowl because cannabis is still what it is. Here, I'm gonna let them in. It's fine, guys, come on in. The doors are going to be locked. We don't want to be locked in. Fine. Awesome. So yeah, we're going to be going through a handful of different ways that not only can you avoid getting your account shut down, just talking about some of the different challenges and how it's actually it's really more of an opportunity for us to get creative about these challenges versus being, oh, I can't spend money on Facebook ads. God forbid we not be able to give someone our money. At any rate, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, maybe. There we go. All right. Hi, I am Dusty Arab. Yes, that is my legal name. I'm the CEO of Cannabis Bake Shop & Co. We have some granola and some jams that will be coming to Oregon dispensaries a little bit later this year. I'm currently the brand manager of DM CBD. You're probably a little bit more familiar with DM as a vertically integrated situation here in Oregon. We're the biggest delivery operation in Oregon. We just recently expanded to Massachusetts as well, with holdings in several other states. I have worked on social for top Oregon brands, several cannabis brands this past year, as well as social media experience for the past decade or so, primarily working in highly regulated industries. If any of you guys are familiar with MLM brands like supplements, doTERRA, things like that, I've done a lot of consulting with companies like that who already are dealing with a lot of these issues that we're coming up against with like really specific language and things like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the state of social. It sucks in cannabis. It's really difficult it's just really difficult to not get your account taken down. At this point, I mean, you've probably heard the horror stories, Cannabis. Erin from Jane is speaking with me on another panel later. Jane recently had their account shut down. East Fork Cultivars had theirs shut down. Companies that aren't selling anything, and that's still not good enough for Instagram and Facebook not to shut your account down. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But the reality is when you're operating on someone else's platform, they make the rules. And again, I think this can really be an opportunity for us. And again, this is not the first industry to be highly regulated. Tobacco, alcohol, porn, there are lots of things you can't show. There's lots of things you can't show. The reality is skipping social is not an option. It's your digital storefront, whether you like it or not. And there are a lot of brands, in particular dispensaries, that are leaving a lot of money on the table by not having even just like a basic, a nice little top 9 for somebody to look at. Pay a teenager $20 and they'll set you up real nice there. Just what we're going to get to today is how to avoid getting banned and how to get unbanned in some very limited cases. It costs a lot of money. What programs I've used organically to grow cannabis brands, and how to make social work for your brand. First of all, we have to follow the rules, you guys. Terms of service. How many of you ever read the terms of service on anything you click through? I appreciate that. We all have to get better as an industry at reading the terms of service, and as individuals to protect our privacy. Instagram in particular is one where we all have a lot of traction. So this is taken verbatim from the terms of service. You can't do anything unlawful, misleading, fraudulent, for an illegal purpose or unauthorized activity. Right now, even with the Farm Bill, still counts. Facebook and Instagram don't care. Also, Facebook owns Instagram, guys. The rules are so similar. It's the same ad platform. If you can't get something in on one platform, it's going to be very difficult to get it listed on the other platform if you're trying to do a paid ad campaign. This is the other part of their terms of service, which is the same on both platforms. Offering illegal or prescription drugs, even if it's legal in your region, and that is the exact wording there, is also not allowed. Remember to always follow the law when offering to sell or buy other regulated goods. Stop trying to sell me CBD via DM. And just while we're here, this is something that I got asked about a couple of times when I was told that I was giving this talk. Copyright infringement and cannabis. It's a problem. It's a problem because we can't copyright a lot of things that are drug-related. So at this point, the best thing you can do is keep receipts, screenshot everything. At this point, it's very difficult. You can't get things trademarked that are cannabis-related, but what is still what is still protected is your intellectual property. So anything, your captions, your visuals, all of those things, you can still go after someone in a small claims court for those things. Keep receipts, leave a comment. You can file a report with Instagram. They do care about copyright infringement. This is important to keep in mind. Publicly shame them. It works, guys. There have been a handful of cannabis brands in this past year that have made the mistake of, copying someone's branding, for instance, or trying to copy a specific formulation, publicly shame them, then have your lawyer send a cease and desist. Now, I do want to tell you guys a little bit more about how to play by the rules, kind of, because at this point, we can't fully play by the rules. As much as any of us would like to, where Instagram and Facebook, they can still shut us down for no reason. I'm going to briefly touch on a couple of other social media platforms, like Reddit and LinkedIn, because we do have a little bit more leeway there. It is a little bit easier to get ads up on LinkedIn, for instance, as long as you're not hitting tripwires, so to speak. So first off, Instagram and Facebook. The best tactic you can take on these platforms is to educate and be kind of indirect about how you're going about it. You can't sell weed on the internet. Can't do it. Well, you can kind of do it, but you can't do it on social media. Working with influencers. Guys, this is probably the best way to start to gain traction on social media, regardless of your brand, regardless of what you're selling. You're purchasing those people's time and their platform, and if your platform has already been marked as one that uses CBD or weed or pot, those are all words that are going to have people keeping a real account reps for advertising and things like that. They're going to be watching those things. So you're going to want to step around that as much as you can using influencer platforms. And lots of influencers are willing to do these things even just for product trades. So it doesn't always have to be a fiscal incentive. Next up, brand partnerships. I mean, I'm definitely very biased here, but my favorite brand partnership right now is East Fork, Empower Body Care, Muru, and watching all of these people just constantly work together. It works because it's CBD, but it also works because you start to see those brands everywhere together all the time. And watching everybody lift everybody else up, you start to familiarize yourself with those things. I highly recommend looking into some brand partnerships. Once again, watch your mouth. If you have cannabis in your title, trust me, Cannabis Bake Shop & Co., if I could go back and do that again, I'd go back and do it again. It's still not off the table. Another way you can really start to be interacting with consumers is to get in their DMs. Instagram doesn't care what you're DMing people as long as it's not, porn. But it's a really good way to start individual conversations with consumers, especially people who would like to rep your brand. And again, lots of people would do that for a small amount of product. Use the right bot. Facebook Messenger bots. Has anybody played with those at all? So you probably have a Facebook page, right? It takes 5 minutes on the back end of a business page to set up a messenger bot where anybody who goes to your page or likes your page, it'll automatically flip up that little bot right there. And you can just start a conversation with people that way. Again, those things aren't really being regulated. And finally, use stories. On Instagram and Facebook, there's a little switch. You can have it sending to both platforms at the same time. It's really only worth your time to be looking at one of them. But stories are definitely a powerful way to be interacting with consumers and to give them more of a behind-the-scenes look at what you're creating on the daily basis. The other good thing to remember here is Instagram desperately wants you engaged. It's why they haven't kicked up. Hashtag cannabis has, I think, 15 million hits last time I looked. Marijuana is even higher. But they want you there. So the reality is if you're creating authentic engagement, which is also in their terms of service, it says create and facilitate meaningful interactions. That's what you want. So that's why organic isn't all there is, but it's kind of basically all there is. It's a party that it's like Hermes. It's not. If it weren't so exclusive, we wouldn't be as into it. I feel like that's the case with a lot of Instagram ads and things like that as well. Like, we want to be able to use it, but since we can't, we kind of have to work with the functionality they're still giving us. As far as tactics go, don't unfollow, guys. It's stupid. It's a waste of time, and it doesn't work. It doesn't help build your brand. As far as tactics, though, these are the 3 programs that I use to grow accounts successfully. I've never gotten an account shut down using any of these. Planoly. There's another version called Plan. Planoly is like for a paid account, it's like $9 a month. I set up all of my social at one time in like 6 hours every month. I don't think you need a full-time social media person most of the time. I think you need someone who knows how to automate things and is willing to watch the account and engage with people. Next up is Tailwind. You may not have heard of this one. It's really more of a Pinterest kind of a thing. Pinterest is letting CBD stuff through very slowly. It's not flagging accounts unless you're HempWorks, but nobody likes HempWorks. Last up is Light Growers. So Light Growers is an Instagram bot, but it's not the kind that's going to get your account shut down. It's going through and facilitating the kind of organic interaction that, I mean, realistically, you should be doing, but who has that kind of time? If you have a full-time social media person, great. If not, use Light Growers. It's very cost-effective. Finally, let's talk about getting beyond the feed. We have so many more options here available to us than just social media. That really is just the doorstep. It should look good, it should be present, but it does not have to be your bread and butter, guys. Just like it always has been, email marketing is where the money's at. Your account may get shut down. Have a backup account. Get them on your email list. Give them an incentive. Give them a coupon. Give them a reason to go interact with you on your terms. Second, SMS works. Text messaging, with a text message, it's so easy for someone to opt in and opt out. And if they want to be there, they want to be there. They want to be getting those deals from you. Videos, graphics, and GIFs all get shared every single time. If you only have a small media budget, that's really where you should be investing it versus putting it into someone who's just going to do a bunch of Facebook updates for you. Last but not least, earned media. That is probably the biggest area of growth in the cannabis industry for getting people's attention right now. We're very fortunate in this area to have a lot of people who have spots now in Forbes or Entrepreneur and all these different areas where we're getting outside of our little cannabis bubble here. It gets pretty incestuous after a while. Earned media is a thing, guys. Should definitely be paying attention to it. If you want more, I have lots of guides for this kind of stuff at thereinvention.co. It's my website. You can also find me on Instagram at dusty.arab. And really, I just wanted to leave this time mostly open for Q&A because I know you guys, I know there are a lot of questions about this topic, so thank you.
Can you elaborate a little bit on some of your SMS success and kind of what's been working and what hasn't been working?
So as far as SMS goes, my experience is pretty limited.
Yeah.
We have hired companies before to implement that in tow with our email marketing. So instead of just having people sign up with their email, particularly with that DM's delivery service, that is something that we've used to great success on that side of the company. So there are some email marketing programs. Oh, email marketing, that's probably something good to mention. Most email marketing companies don't want you guys on there if you haven't been, lost your list before. Active Campaign, if you're not on there already, I would highly recommend moving to Active Campaign. And if you need a specific rep to talk to, feel free to contact me personally, and I'll put you in touch with who you need to be. Sorry, guys, I told you it'd be a short session.
What about products and brands that are not, like our consumer electronics vaporizers, for example? Are they running into the same kind of problems?
You know, it depends on if you're getting reported or not, because that is definitely a problem. I'm aware of several accounts that have just been shut down because a competitor or something will have like everybody in their company go and mark the account as spam or offensive content, and that is a reality of our industry. We are affected by that more than a lot of companies are. Companies that I've seen really do it right with vaporizers. Bebo is, I mean, that's one of the more high-end brands, but as far as like disposables, that it looks like goop. It's pretty inoffensive. Another company out of Oregon that's done it pretty well is Orchid, and I don't believe that they've had any issues up to this point.
You mentioned Reddit. What have you guys been doing on Reddit, or what advice do you have for folks on Reddit?
So folks on Reddit, that's the long game. If you're going to be on Reddit, you kind of already have to be a Reddit user or willing to become a Reddit user. Reddit's one of those communities that really rewards the people who invest the most time there and invest the most time in developing relationships and becoming an authority on something. If that is the kind of thing that like really lights you up and is really like integral to your company and the kind of company that it is, I would highly recommend using Reddit. People are very weary of self-promoters there, so that is definitely something to be aware of. But if you've developed a rapport within certain communities in the Reddit in certain subreddits, you can definitely drop a link once in a while, and no one's going to be sorry about it.
Have you identified yourself as professional in this industry, or are you going in a little subversive and?
I have a separate account for that. I have a separate cannabis account, to be honest. I have not identified myself as a professional in the industry. People know me there as like a blogger, social media person. So.
Working with influencers, what do you suggest as far as diversifying among them and groups? Would it be just trying to get people with the most followers, or diversifying among a multitude of influencers?
Honestly, I think micro-influencers are really where it's at. Like, for instance, the Cannabis account. Cannabis is like right around 100,000 followers. It's been shut down, I think, like 8 times now. And like, that's definitely an area where she's done really well, is partnering with brands of all different kinds. Where I have personally found the most reward and the most like measurable ROI for a campaign is, so for DM, we do sign up brand ambassadors. Anybody who signs up as a brand ambassador can make like up to 16% of anything that they sell with us, and that is not wholesale. The people who are most successful have less than 5,000 followers and are highly engaged. So those smaller communities that are really like constantly interacting, constantly commenting, go and take a look at that person's top 9. If there's like anybody who like approaches you, I mean, I get approached every day, a couple times a day, about like, hey, I'd love to rep your brand, send me free product. And for the most part, those people only have like a couple hundred followers, and usually that's not really worth the time or even the product. But like right around 5,000 to 10,000 followers, there is a sweet spot there. So.
How are you measuring ROI?
It depends on the campaign. If you can use a specific link and get them to a specific destination, that, I mean, far and away, that's the easiest way to measure it. There are other options. It really depends on what the goals of your campaign are. So if you're looking for more exposure, then sure, like a bigger brand that increases your follow count, things like that, that can be what you're looking for. For me, it's always bottom line. I try to always get people back to the website or on the email list. And if it doesn't end up in one of those two things, that it doesn't really matter for me.
Does LinkedIn have any cannabis policy that you can tell?
They do, but they don't really enforce it.
Okay.
So like, from what I can tell, I don't use cannabis hashtags anymore. I've played with them a little bit, and things do seem to, I won't say they're being suppressed, but I do seem to get less interaction on those. So hashtags on LinkedIn are a totally different beast. But I have gotten ads through on LinkedIn.
I bet that hashtag cannabis had a pitifully small following. I actually decided to start promoting it on my own, but it's still only about 1,200 followers.
It's pretty minimal at this point. Same with CBD. There are a handful of other ones that are more, I would suggest looking at things that are more topically relevant, like hashtag Farm Bill. I was surprised at the amount of engagement that had. All right, should we call it, guys? Thank you so much, everybody.